Welcome back, bike nerds. This is Bike Guy Alex here with our final video on this Intimidator custom bike build. Now, if you all remember, last episode we stripped down this frame to bare metal and then painted it back up. So if you haven't already watched that video, please go check it out, as I did spend a lot of time filming and editing that. So that would be much appreciated. But today, we are going to take this gorgeously, freshly painted bike and build it up into a bike that we can actually ride. As for a quick recap of what happened last episode, we used some paint stripper, stripped this frame all the way down to bare metal, which was a super messy and hard process. Then I came through with some spray dot bike spray paint and sprayed up the frame and fork with a base coat of this orange color. And then I came through on top and did this speckled purple pattern using saran wrap or cling wrap, whatever you call it. Basically just dapping that saran wrap in purple spray paint and then dapping it onto the frame, giving it this speckled, splattered, camo, whatever you want to call it, pattern. And I think it's gorgeous. And I am so excited to get into the build of this video. So the first thing that I really needed to do for this build was service the wheels. If you remember all the way from the first episode of this series, my design process about this whole bike and why I wanted to customize this bike fully with a full custom paint job and the whole 9 yards was because I wasn't happy with the bike as it was, and it wasn't getting me stoked to ride it. The other thing that wasn't getting me stoked to ride it was how slow this bike felt. And that was mostly because of the bottom bracket and the wheels. So servicing these wheels were a must, and as you can see, when I broke open this freewheel in the back, it was disgusting. All of the grease was completely brown. It was gross. All of the bearings were pretty pitted, and so were the little casings or things that kept the bearings in place. They were pretty worn. So ultimately, I think that I'm going to need to replace this rear wheel at some point. All of the components that came off this bike were super cheap, low-end componentries, but the frame itself was a super solid 4130 chromoly steel frame, so all of these other parts can definitely get upgraded to match the quality of the frame itself. So not too worried about the frame, but these wheels will probably need to get replaced. I decided to continue servicing them anyways, even though I found out that everything was super pitted and probably wasn't gonna come out the way that I wanted it to, because I didn't have another wheel with me at this point. So we were just gonna service it, see how it feels, and replace the wheel in the near future. So I took out all of the bearings and soaked them in some degreaser so that I could clean them up, and cleaned out the hubs as best as I could. I was unable to get the cassette off of the rear wheel, so I just kind of serviced it as is. And as you can see, with me putting in the clean bearings back into this side of the rear wheel, it was kind of just drop it into this huge thing of grease that I stuck in there, and then get my finger down in there and push them into place. So hopefully that works, we will only see in the near future if it doesn't, when this wheel doesn't roll well. But yeah, so getting the bearings in on the other side, this was much easier. And you can see the difference with the clean grease here at the end. But ultimately, the wheel feels better with this ton of new grease in there. But I don't know how long that's going to last. And I really want to be happy with this build. So I think that I'm just going to have to find a replacement wheel for it, just so that I can do this bike justice and do it right and be completely happy with this build. Moving on to the new tires on this bike, took off the old tire off this wheel and realized that the rim was not taped. So quickly did that off camera, and then I came back to put the new wheels on, to put the new tires on, sorry. So I got these Kenda K-Rads. They seem like they're going to be really good. I kind of wanted something that had a decent amount of traction that I could take on and off road, but nothing too knobby that would really impact the speed that I could get on road, as most of my riding is on the road and for commuting. So these K-Rads are a 2.3, 26 by 2.3, so nice thick tire for comfortable commuting, with some good knobs so that if I really want to get rowdy and take it off road, it should be really fun. So, yep, that's what we got going on for the wheels. So with the wheels all serviced up, I went on to clean some of the other parts that I was going to throw on this bike. I'm going to be throwing on this older Peugeot stem on it. So yeah, definitely mismatch parts on this bike going together. It's kind of funny because it's going to ultimately end up being a sort of rat build, but with me having resprayed the frame, it doesn't really give off that rat bike vibe. But all of the parts and things that I'm throwing on it are definitely of that rat bike variety. So cleaning up the bars here, these are some flat bars that I got off of the Specialized Rock Hopper that I got a while back. If you saw that video, these are the bars that came off that bike. So some really nice, lightweight, I believe they're aluminum bars here, flat bars. I think it's going to look pretty cool. I think that I might want to change the bars in the future, but I'm going to ride it as is and see how I like it, and then maybe I'll come back and change them in the future. As you can see, there was a fair amount of leftover gunk glue stuff from the old grips, so I ended up just coming through with some sandpaper to get that off, and then I repolished them back up so that I was happy with them. Here I am cleaning out the headset bearings and cups so that I can put it all back together. Same issue here with the wheels. The bearings were pretty pitted, and so were the cups. So I think that I'm gonna have to replace the headset in the near future as well. But ultimately, I think a little bit of a crunchy headset to me isn't the biggest deal. So that's something that I'll be able to live with for now. But some crunchy wheels, those are going to have to get sorted out pretty soon. So we're putting it all back together here because these are the parts that I've got, and I really want to ride this bike again. So it's going to be worth it to get it all put together and rideable so that it can get used and not just sit in my shed for another couple of months. So all of these little issues that I found while building up the bike will definitely get sorted in the near future, but I will be riding it like this for a little bit of time. So here we are putting on the stem and bars and wheels just to kind of get a first mock-up of what this bike is going to end up looking like. And I think it's going to look really, really good at this point. I was super stoked. Yep, so here's the mock-up as is. I think the flat bars with this old school Peugeot stem that's sort of like a flat stem, doesn't really have much rise to it, doesn't also dip down much, looks really good. However, this bike is a little bit on the smaller side for me, so I think a bit of rise in the bars could be really nice. And maybe some sweep too. I think that could be really fun. So let me know in the comments if you think that I should do some sweeping bars or something of the sort on this bike. I think it might make it significantly more comfortable for me while riding. But let me know if you think that some sweeping bars would look better in general. So here I am throwing in a brand new bottom bracket. As I said, my goal for this bike was to make me stoked to ride it, and it feeling really slow and laggy was not making me stoked. So a new bottom bracket was a must, and this just classic Shimano square tapered bottom bracket is the one that I went with. It's a 68 millimeter shell by 116.5 millimeter spindle length. The other bottom bracket was running 3x on the front and was, I believe, 140 millimeter spindle length. So the 116 was a bit of a shot in the dark if it would work or not, and it works fantastic. The chain line is near perfection. I did check to see if I could run a larger front chain ring, and it seems like 42 tooth might be the largest that I could go. I had a 50 something tooth that I checked to see if that would work, and it would not. So we're just gonna leave the 40 tooth that was on those cranks on there, and that's how we're gonna run it. So threw in the seat post there. Yes, I did grease up my seat post and seat tube so that when this bike gets to a new owner, or if I keep it and want to rebuild it, or whatever the issue is, we will not have a seized seat post. Next up, we're going to put on the cable guide underneath the bottom bracket here. Took it off for painting purposes. So just got to throw it back on so that we can run a rear derailleur on here. We're not going to have a front derailleur, so just need it for the rear one. As you can see here are all the old and new parts that we're going to throw on the bike. Got some new V-brakes for it, new chain for it, and got some older levers and shifters for it. It's kind of funny because I was not able to find matching brake levers, so we're going to be throwing on one LX and one XT lever because I couldn't find matching ones. But, you know, it is what it is, whatever. As for the shifter, just got a newer Shimano 7-speed shifter, and yeah, that's how we're going to run it. And as you all have probably already seen me or other people cable up bikes so many times, I thought that I would have a little fun and do an early 2000s MLG edit of my cabling this bike. I am sorry, headphones users, and for everyone else that wasn't using headphones, I hope you enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun putting that together, and I hope it gave you some nostalgia, potentially. Anyways, back onto the bike build here. We ended up putting on the front cranks, pedals, all of that, and then went on to the chain, sized it up using the biggest rear gear and biggest front gear, and adding 2 lengths to size it up. At this point in the build, I was thinking to myself, wow, nothing has gone wrong yet that has made me hate working on bikes, which usually happens at least once during one of my bike builds. And then something happened, of course. This chain does not have a quick link. It has one of those pins that you press through the chain, so it has a little guiding section and then the pin itself, and then once you get the pin in, you can break off the guide. The guide broke off early when I was putting in this pin, so I was left with just the pin that I had to get into this new chain with no guiding section for it, and it was a hassle. It really sucked having to do that. If you've ever pushed a pin out of a chain too far where it falls out and then you have to get it back in, you'll know my pain. It sucked, and I just think it's so funny that I was thinking nothing wrong has happened, and then that happened. So yeah, anyways, we're gonna throw on the grips here, and then we're gonna take a look at the final product. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you in the next bike video. Love you guys. Bike guy out.